It is 11:47 p.m. at Kanpur Central. Normally, this place is a chaotic swarm of humanity, but right now, the platforms and the grand architecture are completely hollow. Stepping out of the station, Arav is hit by a strange kind of silence. The usual roar of auto rickshaws and street vendors is gone. The only things piercing the quiet are a few distant stray dogs and the hiss of a single, tired tea vendor's stove. With no drivers willing to take a fare and his connecting train hours away, the open streets feel far too exposed. He spots the dim neon sign of the Shanti Guest House across the road and heads straight for it, needing a place to wait out the night. By rushing inside to escape the empty streets, he thinks he's finding safety. In reality, he has walked directly into a perfectly set snare. The lobby is dead quiet. The night manager doesn't ask for ID or make small talk. He just silently slides a heavy brass key across the counter for room 203. Arav steps inside and immediately goes for the hardware. He twists the handle lock and slides the heavy, rusted deadbolt firmly into the frame. There is a deep psychological comfort in that sound. We are conditioned to believe that 2 inches of solid wood and a metal bolt create an impenetrable barrier between us and whatever is out there in the dark. That lock has turned room 203 into a cell. Arav has sealed himself inside with a threat he hasn't even noticed yet. The timeline begins exactly at 12:13 a.m. It starts small. 3 distinct soft knocks against the wood. He reaches for his phone to brush it off as a prank, but the screen tells a different story. Over the next 14 minutes, his cellular signal steadily bleeds out, dropping from 4 bars to none by 12:27 a.m. Then the pacing begins. Heavy, dragging footsteps start moving back and forth, scraping against the floorboards just inches on the other side of the door. The noise builds until a voice, muffled but completely clear, presses right up against the wood. It tells him, simply, to open the door. At this exact moment, Arav's entire world narrows down to that piece of wood. His eyes are glued to the handle, his body braced, entirely focused on defending that single entry point. Every knock, every footstep, and every whisper in that hallway is an elaborate piece of misdirection. It is calculated to keep his eyes trained on the door so that he never looks behind him. The banging stops. In the sudden quiet, Arav backs away from the door and turns around, catching his own reflection in the large vanity mirror across the room. But the image staring back at him is wrong. The mirror isn't reflecting the bed, the window, or the peeling wallpaper of room 203. It is showing a perfectly clear view of the empty hallway outside. The frantic pounding on the door instantly erupts again, louder than ever. Only this time, the geometry makes terrible sense. The reality of the room and the reflection have crossed over. Whatever was hunting him was never out in the corridor. It has been inside the silver backing of the mirror the entire time, just waiting for him to get close enough so it could push its way through to our side. Deadbolts and wooden doors offer absolutely zero protection when the thing you are hiding from weaponizes the reflections in your own environment. The room's rotary landline suddenly screams to life. Arav grabs the receiver, only to hear a static voice deliver a final, chilling message. It is already too late to run. He drops the handset. Looking back at the glass, he sees the tall, distorted figure. It isn't pushing against the mirror anymore. It is standing in the physical room, directly over his shoulder, even though the air behind him is completely empty. The overhead bulbs violently pop, plunging the space into absolute blackness. Arav cannot see, but he can feel a thick, sweltering heat against the back of his neck, accompanied by the overpowering stench of decaying meat. A voice whispers directly into his ear in the dark, laying down the brutal new law of the room. Arav must go outside, and the entity will stay here. The entity claims Arav's place in the physical world, forcing him into the glass so it can walk out in his skin. When the power finally flickers back on a few moments later, the physical room is dead silent. The bed is unmade. The lock is still engaged, but the room is perfectly intact and completely empty. Arav is simply gone. The next morning, sunlight washes over Kanpur Central. Down in the lobby of the Shanti guest house, the silent manager seamlessly resets the environment, sliding a brass key across the counter to a new, exhausted traveler. It is a perfectly mundane, quiet transaction. The traveler just wants a few hours of sleep, completely unaware of the trap waiting for him at the top of the stairs. Arav is the face inside the silvering. He pounds against the glass, screaming without sound as he watches the new guest settle into the room. The cycle resets with every check-in. To leave room 203, the entity must first create a new monster to take its place behind the glass.